everyone. Welcome to a mega-sized edition of ARG Presents. I'm Amigo Aaron, joined by a man whom it took ages to be this good, the BRENT.
41 ages to be exact.
Oh my God. Well, keep trying, pal. So, if you joined us last week, we spun the wheel, we made the deal, and this week we'll be playing games on the Sega Mega Drive,
Yes.
Brent. Now, Brent, what do you know about the Mega Drive? Not the Genesis, but the Mega Drive.
Zippo.
Zippo?
I mean, I know very little about the Sega Genesis, so outside of some of the games on it, I know very little.
Well, luckily for you, I had a handy-dandy print sheet here with all the pertinent facts that we're going to need to understand what's going on in Europe at the time of the Mega Drive. Of course, the Mega Drive in the United States, I think, are we the only country it's called the Genesis in? I think we are.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, because...
Well, this... Not the whole continent, right?
Yeah. So, now, I learned some stuff here I didn't know. This thing, of course, released... Just for fun, I like to humiliate you. So, when do you think the Mega Drive was released in Japan? Just give me a year.
Like, 85?
No, way off, man. 88.
How's that way off?
That's 3 years. That's way off. That's what it is. So it was released over in it got released over in Europe in September of '90. So
I knew it was way after the fact.
They were almost a full year behind everybody else. Now, this thing ran from around 88 to around 97 officially. That's a long run. Now, technically, it's still sort of running because they're making clones and minis.
They still release crap for it.
All this other junk that came out for it. Now, worldwide, the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive sold 30 million units.
Yeah, it was a good little system.
Give or take. Then you had some other units that were in there. That you've got like Majesco made a unit, Tech Toy, and all these other guys that made this stuff. So it's estimated that in the UK and Europe, all over Europe, 8 million of these units were sold there.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Of course, the main difference aside from the name is is just your output, your video output. And it does go. The speed's a little bit different, as you can imagine. Now, I've been nosing around to try to determine exactly how many European exclusives were made. Okay. Now, this was not the. I found it, and I want to thank the people over on the Sega Saturn 16 forums.
Yes.
They cobbled together the most definitive list that I saw. I did some checking, and some of these are and you got a couple in here on the list that are sort of a combination of, and I'll let these slide, of Europe and Brazil.
Yeah,
and Australia. Well, I mean, they're not the USA. They're not Japan, for example. So, and it's funny, and I'll get to there was one, according to this, there's one Australian exclusive, one. Which I'll get to.
Was it a racing game?
No, it was not.
Oh, right, okay.
So I'm just going to run down some of these, and I want to talk about a couple there, and I'll have my reasons. So, you've got Addams Family Values, Asterix, and the Power of God. Now, Asterix sort of he's a comic book hero, or he's a comic book character that's popular in Europe, some parts of Europe. You ever heard of Asterix?
No.
I believe he's like a Viking guy. Me and my boy, they had an arcade game of him, and me and my boy, it's like a beat 'em up. We played that one. Bloodshot, Body Count, Brian Laura Cricket. That probably wouldn't get released over here. 2 of those. Then you've got Cannon Fodder.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. You're going to see, in fact, I'll get to this, but there's a trend in some of these. Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Weird.
Why would that get an exclusive?
Hey, well, I don't know. Cheese Catastrophe starring Speedy Gonzalez. Hey, we love Speedy Gonzalez. Daffy Duck in Hollywood. Dino Dini Soccer. Now, Dino Dini Soccer. Dino Dini did one of the Amiga soccer games. So he had his own named soccer game.
Okay.
Donald and Mallard. That's tough to say. Double Clutch. F1 World Championship Edition, which that's a racing game that I believe got its start on the Amiga. In fact, you're going to see a lot of Amiga stuff on here because which is nutty. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that got ported from the Amiga that never made it over here, but was popular enough in Europe to get a release. FIFA 98, Flink, Gunship, Hurricanes, International Rugby. That probably wouldn't get a port over here for the obvious reasons. International Sensible Soccer, LE World Champions, another Amiga game. International Superstar Soccer Deluxe. Now here, Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snooker. How do you not release that in the States? It's got Jimmy White. I love that guy.
But it also has snooker.
Snooker's fun, man. I learned a lot about snooker from doing that episode on the Amiga.
Not saying it's not fun. I'm just saying it's not popular in the States.
It should be. This is where the States dropped the ball. Kickoff 3, which I think Kickoff is Dino Dini's soccer game. Yeah. Man Overboard, SS Lucifer. Who would get on that ship? What are your tickets for international waters? Oh, we're on the SS Lucifer. What?
They're on a mission for peace.
I guess the SS Hitler was being repaired. Mega Swiv. Hey, I almost picked this actually. Swiv is a great game on the Amiga, and I did have a look at this. It was okay. Several Micro Machines incarnations: Micro Machines 2 Turbo Tournament, Micro Machines Military, and Micro Machines 1 Turbo Tournament 96. Now, I'd never heard of Micro Machines Tournament or Micro Machines Military. Military?
That's kind of crazy because the Micro Machine games do really well in the States.
You like those games, don't you?
They're okay.
Here's another Amigos favorite, Mr. Nuts.
Great game.
Mr. Nuts. The Autofons Populous 2.
Wow.
You wouldn't expect a game like that to get ported to a console.
I wouldn't expect a game like that, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I'm not going to skip over a few. Premier Managers and stuff like that. Then you got Rise of the Robots. Now, that movie, I thought that got ported to everything. I was surprised to read that. The Genesis version, I guess, didn't get an American port. That's weird. Second Samurai, Sensible Soccer, both Amiga titles we've covered on the Amigos. Now, I almost picked this one, but I was afraid it would violate the terms of our agreement hilariously, so I didn't pick it because it was also released in Brazil. The Smurfs. The Smurfs. We love the Smurfs over here, and it's okay. It's the Smurfs. It's a platformer game. It's kind of like a beat 'em up or a platformer.
That's a horrible idea. Why wouldn't you make that like a?
It's actually not a beat 'em up. It's mostly
like a Lost Vikings type game. That'd be great. Give each the Smurfs.
Smurfs fans aren't. Lost Vikings. That's too complicated. Smurfs fans are little kids. Smurfs travel the world. Snake rock and roll. Spearoo, Street Racer, Strikers, Super Kickoff, Super Skid Marks, another Amiga game, Tintin in Tibet, Total Football Ultimate Soccer, Worms, the original Worms, Xenon 2 Mega Blast, another Amiga title, and Yogi Bear Cartoon Capers. That's pretty much the list that was compiled over at Sega 16. Now, as I mentioned, there was one Australian exclusive I would get into, and I love this one, Days, D-A-Z-E, Before Christmas. Days Before Christmas. That's what.
Is it a zombie game?
I don't know. I don't know. Now, before we get underway here, last week, and I rewatched the end of the show just to make sure I didn't get this wrong. We promised the people that we would be looking at games exclusive to Europe on the Mega Drive. Now, my game exclusive to Europe, it was on that list, but ironically, hilariously, your game not on that list. So please explain to me and all the viewers why you picked a game that violates the pie piece, and this better be good.
Well, here's the thing. I actually picked Penguin Gun Wars 2. Unfortunately, that violated the rules a little bit more by being on a different system.
That would be a heinous violation. Yes.
So I excited the people for a penguin-based sequel game.
Well, we might as well just go with yours. We might as well just go ahead and do yours right now.
All right. I think that's a wise choice. And I brought to the people the only penguin-based exclusive to the Mega Drive, Pingo. The official title for this is Pepenga Pengo. But no one calls it that. Everyone just calls it Pingo. And the reason why, Pingo is 3 games in one, all based on the arcade classic Pingo.
Yeah.
Which I believe we both love dearly, correct?
I will admit, I do love me some Pingo. There's no doubt about that, yes.
So, Pingo has 3 versions in it. And let's talk about the arcade version first. This is an arcade port, as you will, using the old style graphics, just like you would see in the arcade. And it plays pretty well with one incredible flaw. And that incredible flaw is you can't see all of the screen at one time. The screen scrolls.
It does scroll.
And it doesn't scroll in the arcade.
No, because it's on a vertical screen.
And because of this, the game, for me, is an unplayable mess. You really have to track where the enemies are in Pengo, and if you are scrolled down far enough and there are enemies doing things at the top of the screen to mess up what you're doing, or you lose track of one of the diamond blocks that is important for getting bonus and really high scores, it makes the game very difficult, and it's already a difficult game. So because of that, I cannot say that this is a good arcade port of Pengo.
You know, I've played, if I may I'll just cover these a little bit at a time. I've played me a lot of Pengo over the years. I would say I'm a pretty good hand at Pengo.
Okay.
All right. I'm not a world champion or anything, but I can go. All right. And I was excited to see. I was like, wow, I never heard of this. Pengo, are you kidding me? Give me some of that. The screen scroll is detrimental for a couple reasons. Anything that's off screen, Pengo, you sort of need to see the whole screen.
It's almost like I just said that.
No, I'm getting to something here. When snowbees are beginning to form, they flash, and so if you're off screen, you can't see where they're at to go get them. If, for example, one game I grouped up the diamonds, and when the diamonds are grouped up, everyone on the screen gets stunned.
Correct.
And which is great. You go around and you smash the crap out of it. Well, I thought I'd finished the level. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? Well, there was, sure enough, off screen, there was still a snowbee lingering around. I didn't know about. I could have went and killed him. I found the controls on this not that good either.
I didn't have any issues.
I didn't like the way it controlled that well. To be honest with you, now I like the arcade controls a lot better. I noticed. Now this is nitpicking, but it does include the bonus screen where the little guys do their little dance, but the dance was not as good, and the music is not as good. And I mean that literally. It's not as good as the arcade music, but that's ridiculous. It's the Genesis. The tune is different. There are two different tunes in the arcade that play, depending on which machine you've got, and both those tunes are better than what the portrayal here, whatever tune they got here in the game. In fact, I found the music in this entire title like the pits. It was a poor man's job on this. I didn't like any of it. So, Pengo, is it playable? Yeah, I mean it is. It kind of is if you want Pengo, but you could probably there's some hackers put an emulator on the Genesis. You could just play Pengo, just a very small game. But yeah, I mean this part of the game, I played it. I played a lot. See how well I could do at it. I did okay. But I like overall as an experience, I didn't enjoy the Pengo one here.
And we can kind of dismiss it because it is just an extra included bonus in the overall package. So let's step back.
I don't know if it was me, I would say that was the main event.
Well, no, but it wasn't.
And I will say before we move on, the scroll. You know, the one thing about the Japanese, I've noticed this on some of their titles, they're real sticklers for having that vertical games being full vert. You know. So this is not. I was not entirely surprised that it did this, and I can understand. Normally, I understand their philosophy on this stuff. I fully understand it because if this had been made by a United States company, they would have just blown. They would have made Pengo wider than tall, and it would fit on the screen. And it probably wouldn't have even come close to feeling like the arcade. This sort of had the same feeling, same play feeling, but it just didn't quite get the job.
I would rather have distorted graphics and more true to life arcade vision, I suppose.
And it didn't scroll that much. That's the funny thing.
Well,
I mean, the scroll was like
scrolled about 2.5 blocks. So this came out, I think adding Pengo to the arcade version was an afterthought because this got released in the very end of '95. It was one of the last games, the last dozen or so games on the Mega Drive. So Was it a little rushed? Maybe. I can't say for sure. There's not a whole lot of detail in this game. I guess it was kind of a sequel no one expected. I'm not going to say no one wanted it, but
I wonder if Penga's a really big title in Japan. Like, because to get a game like this, it's an odd choice. I was the same way. It's like, wow, Penga was a big enough hit in Japan and where it would spawn.
Well, this was a first-party venture, too. In fact, it was the last first-party venture on the Mega Drive in Japan. So, the other two modes are you've got a story mode and a battle mode, which, if you've played Pengo, that makes no sense. But let's go over them. Story mode has Pengo battling different bad guys to reach the goal of getting back a gem or something. It's a stupid story that means nothing.
Now, wait a minute. You're glossing over this intro. Now, hold on a second.
The intro was crap.
Stop right there.
All
stop
right.
right there. This intro starts with this picture of the Earth and like a meteor streaking towards it.
All right. Yeah.
And I was hoping you could explain this. So
I can't.
The next scene, you're in like the North Pole, and there are a bunch of penguins huddled around this structure at the top of the big, like rectangular, like I believe it was purple gem.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're all happy, but they're not moving. It's real cold up there. So the meteor comes streaking in, and it rams this gimmick and blows it up. Now, my guess is this. I think that this gem kept the area cold. Okay, that's what this thing kept the Arctic cold, because when it got smashed by the meteor, like this super evil snow bee was released from its icy prison.
Okay.
It did this. It did a emperor-like force move, and it sucked all the different parts of this gem together. I think there were like 8 or 10 of them, and then without moving, mind you, it flew directly up in the air and went off into like a warped off.
Yeah.
And so the penguins, it shows the penguins, and it shows. And keep in mind, this is all horribly drawn.
Horrible.
And it's got a soundtrack it reminds me of the old. Remember when you used to go to the mall? Somebody'd have a Casio out in the mall, and there'd be idiots going by going like brr brr brr. That's what this sounded like. And then so all the penguins are getting hot, right? Well, they're not going to do anything about it. Well, up steps presumably Pengo. He's got a bow tie, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's a fancy dresser.
And he gets a mean look on his face, and he goes like, and then he floats away a Poochie style.
They got this move the cell up the screen
into space, and this is so. Presumably, you are gathering up these gems
the fragments of the gems.
to rebuild the cold machine that keeps the penguins from being hot.
Right.
There you go.
And the reason I bypass this story is because it is not important at all.
Oh, it's important because of the horribleness of it. This is a cutscene that is no good.
Okay.
Remember the Coco had that cutscene last week? That was so much better.
Leave Pengo alone, man.
He's got a bow tie. What's up with that? Because it's like a tux. I hate that.
So anyway, let's get back to the game now. Pengo is Bomberman.
Is it?
Well, I mean, it basically said, we have Pengo and Bomberman is really popular right now. Let's squish the two and make a horrible game. And that's what they did.
Oh, okay.
So instead of the normal Pengo action where you have a static screen and you kick ice blocks into your enemies, now Pengo can magically produce ice blocks and gets power-ups to make more ice blocks.
He poops out ice blocks.
No, No, he doesn't.
That's what it looked like to me. Pengo, you hit the button and ice comes out of Pengo's hiney.
No, it doesn't. It just goes underneath of him.
No wonder he wasn't.
He's basically laying a little ice mine that when it explodes becomes a block. Because if you stand on the ice mine and it blows up, it actually freezes Pengo. So instead of the stage being kind of pre-configured and you have to work with what you're given, in this version of Pengo, you produce the ice blocks and then kick them into your enemy. And the enemies vary wildly from stage to stage. I mean, you've got robots, you've got demon beast things, you've got
SS Lucifer.
Yeah.
So they came in over them.
So crab monsters, depending on what level you're on and what basically background you get, it depends on what kind of enemies you face. And Pengo now has bosses. Because, because that's something Bomberman had. And all the boss fights, at least the ones I experienced, kind of follow the same formula. You make your ice block and you kick it into the bad guy, and the bad guy can shoot the ice blocks back at you.
How far did you get into this thing?
Oh.
See, I only got to the first boss.
Oh, no, I beat the first boss. I think I beat the second boss, too.
The first boss was like a big octopus, I believe, or a big fish or something, and it's actually, I thought that was pretty clever, actually. I thought I liked that more than the actual game, was the boss part.
And the bosses are, here's the thing. Have you played Bomberman? The proper Bomberman?
I've played it poorly, yeah.
Okay, no, the story mode of Bomberman.
Oh, God, no.
Okay,
no.
I have. This literally is following the Bomberman story formula. You play through 10 or so levels, then you have a boss, then you play through 10 or so levels, and you have a boss, and you just keep going and keep going and keep going. And for Bomberman, I don't think it's that much fun. Bomberman has at least more power-ups that he can get than Pengo does, because Pengo can allow you to lay more ice blocks at one time. When the ice blocks hit another ice blocks, they kind of shatter, so they kind of shoot ice out to left and right.
They also kind of scoot around. Like sometimes they'll go like when you hit a block into one that's in sort of the corner, it'll go down. You know what I mean? Well, it makes ice slide around.
They have sort of a pull-based like knocking mechanic where if you hit an ice into another ice, it transfers the energy into that ice and keeps going, which is probably the most clever part of this game. Unfortunately, again, if I wanted to play Bomberman, I'd play Bomberman. I wanted to play Pengo. And unfortunately, to me, this is a very poor version of Pengo. Even with the power-ups, even with them trying to do something a little bit different, I don't think it was true enough to form to really make its own game out of. Spoiler alert, I did watch the ending of this. Did you have to look it up?
I wish I had. Now, after seeing the opening, I'm sure the ending's dynamite.
Well, as you can imagine, Pengo is victorious. The final boss is basically a egg-shaped monster thing.
I thought it was like a giant super bee.
That can...
Ice bee.
But it doesn't look right. It doesn't look...
Well, ice bees are sort of egg-looking, and they're... Come on, the guy at the beginning
here's
fights,
the thing.
Really.
He morphs into all the other bosses, so it's sort of like a mini boss rush.
He's like Shang Tsung.
In Pengo. When you defeat the final boss, he blows up, you take the gem, and you just kind of have it, and you go back to Earth.
Yeah.
The end.
Not bad.
No, it was just as bad as the opening.
Satisfying.
So let's talk. So did you enjoy this version of the Pengo offering? The second of the three you were going to talk about.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you. I had been someone stooged off to me that this was a sort of Bomberman-esque. The good thing about that is I don't know anything about Bomberman despite having played it multiple times. I've never been good at it.
Okay.
And so for me, I was just like, oh boy. So anyway, here I come at Pengo. Now, they revamped the way Pengo looks in this. He's bigger. The bad guys are also bigger and weirder looking, and not in a good way.
Well, the graphics are very Bomberman style.
They're way different from the other Pengo.
When I say that, I mean Bomberman used to have very 8-bit graphics, and when he went to the 16-bit world, he got larger, more cartoony, and this weird cell shade look. That wasn't really cell shade, just they really emphasized the shading on it to make it look weird. And those are kind of the graphics that this has.
It's funny because Pengo, when you watch the animation and stuff, and also the opening of this, it almost looks sort of like they did that rendered thing,
Yeah,
but
that's what I mean.
Super low res renders, and so here's Pengo. He's a big goof. He's pooping out ice, and it took me a while to figure out what was going on because you're in these ice mazes that some points in the ice maze you can't. They're immovable blocks. Then you've got igloos and stuff that get in your way. And I was like, what am I? So I didn't realize. It took me a while to realize you had to drop the ice and then kick your way out of places. And then when you do that, it allows the monsters to get in those places. And I'll have to say,
anyone who's played Bomberman, it's exactly Bomberman.
Well, all I'm saying is for someone like myself, it was not. I mean, I was gonna kill this. Like, oh boy. It's not that. I actually derive some pleasure from it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to run out and go pick me up a copy of Japanese Pingo. But
no, you're not for a lot of reasons.
What I will say is, I got it. I mean, it took me a while, but I got it. I understood how the game worked. The ice angle where you kick the ice, and you can kick, if you kick ices into multiple ices, like they'll all move.
Yeah,
so that was kind of cool.
Not that cool.
I thought it was. Hey, listen, I'm just telling you, I thought it was kind of neat, and I liked. It was satisfying to smush these guys. The snowmen that pop up occasionally, you could smush them, and sometimes their heads will come off and they roll around. You can go smush them. That was kind of weird. The bad guys aren't real smart early on, so they sometimes they'll wander right past you. One of my problems, again, I didn't think the control was super tight on this, and it's just that it's just trying to, and eventually you learn the timing of how things, how to anticipate a turn or whatever, So probably I would have had more fun playing this on the arcade machine, with the arcade controller than I did with the Genesis controller. All that said, it's not one I would go out of my way to play, but I thought it was okay. I liked the boss battle, even though I was horrible at it. I lost all my men on it. It's not super hard once you understand the trick. What happens in the first one anyway is the boss comes up and there's a crap load of ice, and you're kicking ice into his head, but he's smart, so he throws like anchors, it looks like, and they come out of the sky and they blow up all the ice. And then this guy surfaces and goes like, blah, 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 and you're trying to, that's when you need to hit him with ice. Well, he blew up all the ice that's in his little area, so you got to make some real quick and then kick it into him,
right?
To kill him. I mean, it was standard fare, but I got it. I thought it was okay. Okay,
let's rewind a little bit right now.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy this as a Pingo game?
Oh, it's not. Well, it does have a lot in common with Pingo. You're kicking ice. You're in a nice maze. You're a penguin. So yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
I mean, what is this like? This kind of release this arcade is a sequel to Pingo? No, it's not.
If this didn't have Pingo in it, and it was the same game, was just a different. Let's say there was a desert and they were kicking cacti around. Would you have enjoyed it?
Well,
on that level, without the Pingo tie-in?
I don't know. I mean, are you asking me if being a Pingo game made me like it more?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Here's my problem.
Because Roy, this guy doesn't look like Pingo.
Yeah. Here's my problem. The game doesn't have the same graphical style. It doesn't have the same music. It doesn't have the same play. Kicking ice, that's not Pingo. Pingo is sitting there, he's shaking the side of the board to stun enemies. He's building up diamonds, which the game does have diamonds in it. The diamond blocks you can destroy. I thought that was the most ridiculous thing ever.
Well, if you destroy them, you get power ups.
But who cares?
I never even tried to hook those diamonds up.
It kills the enemies that are.
Because I was like, I'll just take the power up and just get.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you connect all the 3 diamonds, it does have 3 diamonds at the start of the board. If you get them together, all the enemies that are on screen at the time die.
And you have to smash the crap out of them to get them to go away. Like that. I mean, you have to hit them like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. My issue is there's a few things that make Pingo Pingo. The diamond blocks. Always being there is one thing, because there are times in Pingo in the arcade I would only have those 3 diamond blocks left because the enemies would have destroyed everything else, and it was a real pain in the butt. Being able to shake the side of the screen to stun enemies was a big thing. You can't do that. And working with what you've got, you've got X amount of blocks, and that's it. You have to make do with what you've got. Being able to make your own blocks and just kind of hold back and kick them at the enemies whenever the enemies are in range, it doesn't feel Pingo to me. You know what killed me more than anything else in this game?
I don't.
The timer.
Well,
I would run out of time. It has to
have a timer.
3 minutes is all you get per stage. Well, but the original Pingo doesn't have that.
This is a different game.
Dude. It's a slapped on. All they did was said, we've got this property. They slapped it on a Bomberman type game because they wanted another Bomberman type game because they have Bomberman too, and shoved it out the door. I hated it. So let's go ahead and talk about the last mode, which is the battle mode.
Okay. I ain't going to play this one.
The battle mode is 4-on-4, or not 4-on-4. You have 4 versus. Everyone starts in the corner. You go around and you click power-ups and you try to kill each other.
Is it just like Bomberman?
Exactly like Bomberman.
I thought it would be, yeah.
So...
Does it have a 4-player support, like for a multi-tap?
It does.
Is the game cartridge have it, or does it...
The game... no, well, the game allows... I would imagine if you had a multi-tap plugged in, it would probably have 4 players.
Because some of those Genesis cartridges have the... Don't they have the extra joystick ports like
it is,
soldered
into
them?
It is 4-player, yes. Okay. You can play 4-player on it. I played versus computer players. It does have AI.
Yeah.
And it plays exactly like Bomberman. Start in the corners, get power-ups, try to kill your enemy. Very disappointing. The only saving grace on that mode is you can have 4 computer players battle each other. Unfortunately, the AI is rock stupid. I mean, if you die early due to your own stupidity... because there are some stage hazards depending on what stage you pick. But if you die early, you're sitting there for minutes. Like 4 minutes just waiting for the computers to stumble over and kill each other. It was a huge disappointment. Overall, this game was a huge disappointment. I really thought that it was going to either take Pengo to the next level and explore something that way, or be its own thing, but this wasn't. It was Bomberman with a character, an arcade character that I love, based off of a game that I love, and they just ruined it.
So wait a minute, you're telling me that you had high hopes for this game?
I had, yeah.
Now think about it.
Yeah, I did.
Think of all the times that they took an arcade game, they updated it for the new console, and then they added and they put their own. It always stinks. It's never any good.
You know what?
With the exception of, say, Space Invaders.
You know why I had hope for it? There's a game out there called Jensen Love plus Pengo.
All right.
Okay. It's a game compilation, but one of the game modes it has is a Pengo thing, multiplayer Pengo, and it doesn't do this Bomberman crap. It puts you in a huge maze where you can play either co-op or deathmatch. It's got snow bees running around.
No kidding.
It's got the diamond blocks, and it can, depending on what system you play it on, it can play up to 8 players.
What was that released on?
It was released on the Xbox, the 360. It was released in the arcades. It was released on Nintendo Switch.
So clearly they learned a lesson from the game you picked this week.
It looks way better. It looks like it got back to the roots of the thing instead of trying to just be another Bomberman.
Well, I didn't hate this as much as you did, but I wouldn't go out of my way to see it. Now, we have a review sent in from our good buddy. Pull up our review.
I surely can. From Mr. Graham. His review of Pengo. If Pengo and Bomberman had a family, this would be the offspring. Like the original Pengo game, you need to destroy your enemies with the ice blocks in the stage, but this game allows you to drop crystals in a manner similar to Bomberman's bombs. You need them to wait for the crystals to form into ice blocks, and you can push them Pengo style. Like Bomberman, you can also find hidden power-ups, which can make Pengo invincible, freeze even enemies for a moment, which is true. There are a lot of power-ups that do nothing to help you long-term. They're just temporary power-ups.
They're almost all like that, aren't they?
Well, a few of them let you drop more ice blocks, or make you faster. Each level is set in a different location, and that also means a different maze and challenges. The game really has bright graphics and a typical Pengo-style tune, which is nice. Although it is a little bit different. It's kind of weird.
I thought it sucked.
Yeah. I've never had a chance to play the multiplayer, but the multiplayer mode is similar to Bomberman. I think it is a decent Bomberman clone overall, 7 out of 10.
There you go.
And you know something I'll say about that? He's right. It's a decent Bomberman clone. It's just this really crappy
Pengo game. You were killing this game.
So, how much do you think this sells for, Aaron?
Well, being that it's a Japanese exclusive title, I don't know.
Just throw me a big old number out there.
$50.
If to buy this game with box okay condition, $680.
Woo! You said it's not yen?
Nope. And it is so sought after that you have to be careful of getting reproductions of it.
No kidding. Well, there you go. It just goes to show you that anything can become valuable
if it's in limited quantity.
Even if it's not that good.
So what did you bring to the table, Aaron?
Well, I looked over this map of European exclusives to determine, I thought, what am I going to get that's going to best represent our buddies over in Europe? And so...
Wow.
Yeah, I apologize, too. So I thought, hey, how about a soccer game or football? So I went with the Hurricanes. Plus, we're in Hurricane.
That's true.
We're in Hurricane, so this game represents us fully.
Now, Aaron, why do we call it Hurricane when it's obviously spelled hurricane?
You know, I believe some people in some parts of the world actually do pronounce it Hurricane. So, because I have heard that. Listen, because we're idiots. You live in a place with a cool name. Why would you not use the cool name? I never understood that. You know, but there you go. So, let's talk, before we get into the Hurricanes, the game, one must broach the topic of Hurricanes, the show.
Yeah.
This is a game that was based on a cartoon show that was played in the UK and the US.
Yep.
Now get this. I was stunned to read this, Brent. This thing ran 5 seasons and had 65 episodes. So that, and you know, in cartoons,
wow.
That's no, just to get a second season sometimes is a miracle. So this thing was apparently pretty popular.
7 episodes away from syndication.
Right. Well, I'm sure they syndicated crap out of it. I mean, think about it. So this thing was released September 12th of 93 and ran through 97. Produced by Dick Entertainment LP, which Dick, those guys have done a bunch of cartoons. I can't go in. I didn't look it up, but I mean, you see their little thing at the end of a lot of cartoons. So now we got to go into this cartoon a little bit so you can get the flavor of the game.
Absolutely.
So it's about a fictional football team, and basically from watching the opening of the show, this girl basically inherits the team. Her name is Amanda Carey. The coach of the team is named Jock Stone, and the team is staffed by a UN of kids that are on the team. Now, and they're often in combat with another bad guy team called the Gorgons, managed by Stavros Garkos. Right? We don't like them; they're bad. They've got a horrible. Someone in a Discord talking about how they had that song stuck in their head, that theme for this. That's too bad. I would seek shock treatment if that was the theme for this song. This show is not catchy.
It's not much
at all. I watched about 2 episodes of this, and it was unbearable.
Wow,
yeah,
you did better than I did.
So there's your setup, and these guys basically travel the world playing soccer. And fighting crime. Whatever.
And Aaron, how much would you say that the backstory to the cartoon has to do with the game?
A lot. I mean, in a lot of ways it does. Because
a lot, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's framed within the story.
All right, fair enough.
So when you got a cartoon that popular, I mean, it did run 5 seasons.
Yeah, 5 seasons, not bad.
It's time to capitalize on this sucker. And so you released the Hurricanes. You released it. And by the way, you ever heard of this game?
Not this version of Hurricane, no.
Oh, really? Yeah. So this came out in 94. Now, you had 2 versions of this. You had of this particular type of the game. It's sort of the same, and even these are different. You had the Sega Mega Drive and the Sega Game Gear. One of the things that drew me to this was the fact that it was published by U.S. Gold.
Of course.
A very popular publisher back in the day, and they did tons of stuff on all the UK's 8-bit, 16-bit computers. So I was happy to see they were still romping and rolling. This was produced by ARG Developments. Again, the company that had some roots from back in the day. So if you're going to make a game based on a team of soccer players, what kind of game would you make? What's the first game that comes to mind?
I'd probably say a sports game would be the number one choice.
Maybe even a soccer game, right? Yeah, well, guess what?
It.
Screw you. I ain't doing that. Platformers all day, all night. Crank them out.
Well, often when watching platformers, I think, wow, I wish I could play some soccer.
Yeah. So in this game, you get to pick from one of 4 characters.
Right.
You've got Cal, Hero, Amanda, and Rude. All right, you get to pick from them, and from what I can tell, there are no differences in any of them in any way. And from what everyone said, they're both the same.
They're all the same. 4 of them.
It starts off in a locker room. You get to pick your character. Now I usually picked Amanda, but a couple times I would try Cal to see if there's a difference.
I mainly played Rude.
Right. Well, I don't blame you. That seems appropriate for you. So there was also a Super Nintendo version of this game, sorta, and it was also created by the same outfit. and I didn't even look at it because screw them. So when you start this game up, you pick your character, and this sportscaster comes up. Now, his sportscaster was in the show. He was irritating in the show, too.
Yeah.
And this guy goes off about, basically, he's to set up the various points in the game.
He's the framing device, yeah.
There is no audio in this. There's no
it's all speech.
That's right. There's this. So the interview is just still photo. It's pretty lame.
It's animated.
It's cheap. It's not. It's crap. No, it was crap. There was no anime. It was just a picture. It was nothing. So that was no good. That gives you a taste of what's to come. And so you basically, if you've ever played Soccer Kid, this game will be pretty similar in your mind, except Soccer Kid's better. So you are one of the team, and you romp through these levels with a soccer ball. Mm-hmm. And you use the soccer ball to dispatch enemies.
Yes.
Basically. The first level, for example, has you in like a jungle.
Yeah. All
right. Now, the one thing I will say is that I do like the fact that when you kick your soccer ball out of the screen, there's always a guy somewhere off screen who has like a dump truck of soccer balls. And when you get rid of one, he launches one back, and it's a pretty good effect.
It's a really nice effect.
To launch it back onto the screen.
Yeah.
And so there you go.
It scales incredibly well, and it always tracks to your foot. So it's a really, really nice effect.
Now, one thing that Hurricanes don't have, as I went through all their teammates, is they don't have anyone to plan their travel. That's made apparent in the first stage of this game, where you have to adventure through the deadly jungle to get to your plane. Just to get to your plane, you have to go.
It was not a well planned route.
No, it was not. I would fire whoever's in charge of that instantly. Basically, from what I gathered from as far into this as I got, the plot of this is you're basically just like trying to thwart the bad guys. I don't know if it's a big overarching plot or not. So
I think you're trying to right wrongs caused by evil.
Well,
that sort of
that's
thing.
Pretty broad. That's a pretty broad plot right there. So also, like a lot of these games, once you pick your character, the other characters simply don't exist.
Well, yeah.
Well, but where the heck are they?
They hit the showers.
It bugs me. You're right. That's what they do on that load screen. They just run off. So the soccer ball, you can do some interesting stuff with it. Mostly what I did was kick it across the screen and hit a guy. That's basically it. You can kick it while you're jumping, and it'll go up in the air, and you can kick it. Depending on where you're at, the ball you get a different arc on the ball, right? So you can kick it over stuff. It'll bounce off stuff and hit other stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If the ball goes away and you hit the kick ball button, they'll just throw you another ball.
Yeah.
So even if the ball's on the screen, that's the funny thing about this game. Like, if you've got the ball and you kick it and it just stops somewhere in the middle of the screen, it doesn't come back to you. It's not like
it's not
Captain
magical.
America's shield or something. You have to go up and get the ball. Now, I thought that's a kind of a neat play element, but if you just hit the kick ball button again, it just another ball shows up and that one goes away.
Yeah.
So it sort of takes that one out of play. I mean, it
deflates.
I mean, it takes that element of the game out of play.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because that could have been interesting if you don't have the ball. You know, it would have been kind of neat. I played this game on the easiest level. I'm guessing you.
Yeah, I did as well.
I did try it on the hardest level, and it was a little bit harder. The bad guys
you just take more damage.
Well, it's also the bad guys in this are real annoying, and I only got to what did I get to, the 5th level, and the enemies are an interesting mix of like the first down where you get lots of animals and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff small. It's hard to hit with the ball. The ball bounces. The ball, you can kick it over stuff. And you'll get stuff like that takes 2 hits. Like there's in the first level, there's an annoying monkey that throws bananas at you, and that's a pain in the butt 'cause you have to hit him twice. And this stuff will appear on you. So like it won't appear on you, but it'll run into you, and you're trying to get away from it and shoot it, and it's on you.
Yeah.
And your health bar is draining as it's on you. But this is another one of these games that if you're getting hurt, it doesn't knock you back or do anything. It doesn't take the health off like super fast, but still you could be screwed.
You can get ticked a lot.
It's also another one of these games where you can appear on the screen and just instantly take damage before you can hardly move. Stuff would just come right at you. Hey, it's true. It happened to me a bunch of times.
I don't agree with that, but that's fine.
No, there's nothing to agree with. You're standing there, and then something rolls up and attacks you. I mean, it's not like the second you appear, it appears, but I mean, like up 2 seconds later, it's on you. That's no good.
There's plenty of... Okay, go ahead.
You got to give yourself a little... They got to give you a little bit of space here. I didn't think they gave you enough space. You're also going to encounter dudes with guns. That doesn't seem fair.
Well,
you got guys with guns. Now, the backgrounds in this thing are sort of multi-layered, I guess. Like you can see other stuff in the background that you're not at, and I don't know if there's any pertinence to where you're going. I don't think there is. It's okay. The graphics on this I would call not spectacular. How about that? Just like any game ever, it's got to have pits and it's full of spikes, of course. But what really irritated me about this are places where you can just fall off the map. That's annoying in a game like this. So basically what that means is bottomless pits where you just die.
Yeah.
And there are lots of blind jumps in this, and so that sucked. I didn't like that a bit. The actual mechanic of using the ball was okay. Again, I didn't think it was as good as stock kit. So what were your initial thoughts when you fired this thing up?
Well, I enjoyed this game more than you did. I thought that the graphics were really good.
Really?
Yeah. I thought that the mechanics of the ball control were spectacular. Being able to kick it low, being able to kick it high, being able to kick it straight. I thought that the visual effect of the ball being returned to you from off screen was absolutely spectacular. One of the best effects I've seen in this era of gaming. I'm not saying that it was, good in modern times, but when you think back of what they were doing, the scaling of the ball coming back to your foot, and it always comes back to your foot, whether you're in the middle of a jump, or if you are falling, or if you are running backwards, it always comes right to your foot, and it always scales properly. I thought that was a very neat effect. I thought the game itself was a little harsh on the blind jumps.
Yeah.
It was a little pit-tastic. I never died from just taking damage, and that might have been because I was playing on easy.
Did you get to any of the bosses?
Yeah. The first boss isn't that far in.
I thought he was. I thought the guy with the cannon was pretty tough. I had a heck of a time getting past that guy.
I didn't have any problems with him.
I did.
I didn't die to him, I should say.
Oh gosh, I got killed a bunch of times.
But I fell in an upteat ton of pits.
Yeah.
And like I said, I believe all my deaths. I might have died to the cannon guy once. I think all my deaths came from pits though, and it's unfortunate that the level design in this game is just atrociously bad. There's a ton of verticality, unnecessary verticality, considering the game is always, at least from what I experienced, a left to right trip. But there are stories upon stories upon stories of levels that you can go up and down during that left and right travel. Unfortunately, none of it seems to matter. It's not like there are collectibles in the game for different points and extra lives and trophies and that sort of affair. But there's never, or at least I didn't experience, a point where you had to go up to get over an obstacle and then travel back down. It seemed like you had pretty free motion of up to down.
I will say the levels are odd. And some ledges you can jump through from the bottom, and some you can't.
Yeah, that was
so there are
annoying.
places where, and you can tell which ones are which to their benefit, to their credit. But it was still annoying as heck to not be able to jump up from a previous one just because you're jumping and your arc would touch the other ledge, you couldn't get up there. I thought the verticality in this was annoying. Some of the ledges are real small. But I wouldn't say this game's super tough or anything. I mean, your guys are they take a lot of damage. So they made it pretty simple.
It was, but like you said, there are so many blind jumps.
Yeah.
And it's not really even that the camera's not pulled back far enough. I think the viewability of the screen is fine. I don't think enemies come up on you too fast. I think it's very fair. But the levels just have you going so far up and so far down that eventually you reach a peak that you can't. You're as high as you can go.
Just jump off.
Let you go any farther up, and you have to just go forward into nothingness. And you fall for what seems like ages sometimes, and I seem to always find a pit when I did that.
Yeah, and of course when the pits are the only thing in the game that are like instant death.
Yeah,
they pretty much kill you. Like I said, this has 5 worlds and 3 stages in each world. So again, it's not a super long game, and like I said, it's sort of it's pretty light fare. And you can tell it's sort of made for kids, I guess.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
I thought it was. I've been playing other games where you use the soccer ball, like say Soccer Kid. I think they did a much more. The soccer ball is a lot more interesting in Soccer Kid than it is in this because you do a lot more stuff with it.
But this is more realistic. I mean, as far as
come on, you're not. You guys are with guns and you're beating it with a soccer ball.
But I'm talking about you don't bounce the soccer ball off the sides of the screen or anything like that. If you kick it off a ledge, it just falls off a ledge and a new one gets kicked to you.
Well, the ledges going up are a goofy. Now, the funny thing about this game is there is an exploration side of this. Yeah. I mean, you can go way out. And I did occasionally I would see a thing I couldn't get to, and I was wondering how to get to it. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Something else we need to mention are. There are checkpoints in the game.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And there are tons of them. Here's the problem. The game does not direct you to a checkpoint. You can go through an entire stage and never see a checkpoint if you go a path that checkpoints aren't on.
And the flip side of that is, and I thought this was a pretty interesting, I don't think I've ever seen a game that did this. They would have, since the game is multi-tiered, I mean, you're going up or down, or they would have checkpoints in like 2 different levels of the same area.
Yeah.
So like you could, in fact, I was on a screen where I could see a checkpoint. I could jump up and see another checkpoint above me.
Yeah, and
it was kind of nutty.
Although, like I said, there are times when you can just completely bypass checkpoints. Another thing about those backgrounds, if you looked into the backgrounds, it wasn't like a typical background you see in video games where you just see like the mountainside or some kind of landscape. In the background, you see like spike pits and bad guys. So it kind of gives you that feeling like, well, it wasn't like he could just take an alternate path and have it easier. It was like, look at that mess back there. It's just as bad, which I appreciated that.
Now, something I will say, there were a couple things I thought were amusing. And one thing was when you got killed, because you didn't just die. This ref appeared on this like motorized platform and give you a yellow card. Yeah. And that meant you were still in the game, but you've gotten your yellow card, and then after you use all your lives up, he appears and gives you the red card. Yeah. You're out, kid.
I thought that was really good.
I thought that was goofy.
This might have the best continue screen I have seen in a long time. I was going to say of all time, but the Ninja Gaiden.
Oh, with the coach that are yelling at you?
No, he's not yelling at you. The coach is in there giving your guy a motivational speech. And it's long. It's like 4 or 5 lines long. And he's like, come on, kid, you got to get back in there. Like you got to get in there. You got to do it for the team. You can't give up now. And it's really motivational. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll continue. And when you hit continue, it's not just the game doesn't just go to black. The coach is like, that's it, kid. Way to have that spirit. Way to have that heart. I thought that was really awesome for a continue screen.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Oh, come on, man. That is style.
Okay.
That is style where there didn't have to be style, and they went the extra mile to put it in, and I appreciate that in a video game.
What did you think of the tunes in this?
Horrible.
This was even worse than Pingo.
This made me think, my protractor skills aren't that bad.
It'd be like, you'd hear like, there'd be a bass, boom, 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 boom. And in a case you'd hear beep, 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 beep. And that's the song. Just like,
and then repeat that until you go insane.
It's like two channel song. It's just a real crappy bass beat and someone pecking it out. Beep, 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 beep.
It was really, really, really bad. And it was worse than bad. It was amateur.
It was.
It was so amateur.
Something tells me that like they were like, we got this game here. We're not going to release it. Let's just get a guy.
It was.
Let's just go.
But which is crazy because the graphics in this were really good, and some of the animations, like there's a crocodile in the game.
Yeah.
If you kick the soccer ball at the crocodile just eats your soccer ball.
Yeah.
Those type of animations.
You can't kill that guy, can you?
Not that I know
the crap out of that guy.
Yeah. The animations in the game are really nice and really convey more than just like, oh, he died, or oh, you can't kill this guy. It went the extra mile with the animations, and it went the extra mile with the continue screen. Having 4 characters, even though they aren't specialized, is going the extra mile, and then they just fall so flat on that music.
Also, when you kick the ball into the pit, the spike pit, it kind of
deflates. Yeah.
I will say, I can't help, and anyone that watches our sister show Amigos, I can't help but compare this to Soccer Kid, which is an Amiga game, and it got ported over too. What horrible name! They changed the name. This is no Soccer Kid. And I was not the hugest fan of Soccer Kid, but I thought this was the platforming. This is I would say bad. Average. I wouldn't say bad. It's not. This is not a bad game. It's just an average game with a gimmick.
If the level design in this was better, and the music was turned off, I think this would have been a contender for a good game. Unfortunately, the level design is just really, really bad.
I wish the characters that you picked would do different stuff.
I'm okay with them not.
I'm not.
Just because they could have just not included 4 characters.
Right, but I mean, you've got to include some of the team. First of all, if you've got 4 different characters that all do the same things, why not just include all the guys?
Well, no, because then you have to animate 4. The sprites for the 4 different characters are 4 different sprites. It's not color swaps or anything like that. They're their own people.
Well, I'm just saying,
look completely different.
Why you can't have them do some stuff that are different?
What are you going to do though?
I don't know. Maybe they do soccer tricks like a super power up, which you don't have. I would make the game better. I guess is what I'm saying. That's what I would do if it was me.
Well, why wasn't this game better? You can't be like that. I enjoyed this game for what it was. I played this about twice as long as I played Pingo.
I played Pingo a little bit more, but I played this one for long enough. So our buddy Graham had a look at this one. He writes, apparently based from a football team cartoon, these characters appear wholesome yet strangely unfocused. That's exactly the way they are in the cartoon. That sums it up. I assume the newscaster segments are derived from the cartoon, and eventually you pick a character after hearing the scene. It reminds me of Soccer Kid, who also dribbles a soccer ball, and the game is full of soccer puns. You kick the ball towards enemies, get throw-ins to return lost balls, get yellow and red cards for lost lives. The gameplay is quite kid-friendly and somewhat linear, though you have to move up a lot. But one even more quirky thing is the health bar. If you are at, say, 80%, you find something that adds 40% of your health, you gain a life, and your health bar goes to 20%. Yep. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That is weird. The visuals are bright and suit the game, but the music is just annoying. And so are some of the cutscenes. If Soccer Kid appeals to you, maybe give this a try. 6 out of 10. I boy, you can tell Graham comes from the Amiga background. He's like me. Compared to Soccer Kid better. I did actually find a couple reviews on this, believe it or not. So the guys over at Sega 16 gave this 6 out of 10.
I think that's harsh.
No, I think 6 out of 10 is about right. GameSpot 6.3 out of 10. And GameFAQs has this listed as 2.5 out of 5. So you're looking at right here across the board as something considered an average game.
Yeah, you know what? That actually is pretty.
Now, I looked for this on eBay, and it is not like your game. Now, it was funny that when I looked, I couldn't see any currently available, but some had sold recently, $12 for the cart, and the boxed version was around $50 bill. $50 bill for this bad boy.
It's a bit high, but
It is what
I'd pay $12 for this.
So, overall, which game did you enjoy more?
Hurricanes.
Really?
Without a doubt. It was at least a fresh take on a platformer where Pengo was a fresh take on Bomberman.
Speaking of a fresh take, let's spin the wheel.
All right.
Now, this week, tell them what we added, Brent.
We added Steam. The PC platform mega giant Steam.
Now, how's this going to work? There's a million things on Steam with tons of commercial games. So how are we going to do? What's your idea?
We're just going to have to play something we both own.
Okay. So we're not going to buy anything new. It's something we already own.
No, it has to be. Well, I mean, we both own tons of games. Right?
I've got, not tons. I got some.
We'll work it out.
Okay, I got it. Spin the wheel, make the deal. All right, Brent, you want to have a look there? What we got?
We've got,
What do we got?
It's Bizarro Spin time.
Oh, okay. Now tell them what that is.
All right, for Bizarro Spin, we spin the wheel a second time, and whatever pie piece comes up, we will pick each other's game for the system.
All right, crazy. What if Bizarro comes up again?
Then we super Bizarro Spin. We have to spin around in circles.
Oh, man.
All right,
what do we got
This
here?
is an oldie but a goodie. Handheld electronics.
Handheld electronics. Okay, now I actually have a bunch of handheld electronics. So what I'm going to do?
I do as well.
I'm going to pick I'm going to pick one for you and make you play it.
And I know exactly what I'm going to have you play, so it works out well.
So, anybody who's in the room today, bud?
The folks that hung out with us was Picard, Mohawk Mall, Amiga Bang, a little bit of Colin 419.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much wraps her up.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, any parting thoughts before you head out to do some handheld gaming?
I'm going to go watch some Hurricanes cartoon.
Oh, my God. I'm just going to go, suck on a lemon. How about that?
There you go.
So, join us next week as we do Bizarro Land handheld games. And until then, Hurricane powers activate. Boop.
I've inherited a team in the World Soccer League.